we are at Left Coast Crime with Jan Burke. Tell us about your books, because I think there's still a few people out there who don't know all about you.
Well, I write, most of my books are in the Irene Kelly series. It features a newspaper reporter in Southern California. There are, I believe, last count, I think there are now 10 of those that are actually in the series. There's Flight, which is a spin-off from there. And I wrote a supernatural thriller called The Messenger. Altogether there are 14 books if you include a collection of short stories in there. So the books include basically a lot of forensic science incorporated, and that's an interest of mine. So of course, with the exclusion of the supernatural, I got to step outside of the it has to be real world, you know. I got a little, and turned out having to do a lot of research for that anyway, so I didn't escape that.
Should I ask what kind of research you do for supernatural?
Sure, because the character is someone who's been alive since the 19th century, or actually since the late 18th century. And he's someone who was at the Battle of Waterloo, made a deal with someone basically as he lay dying on the field there. So that involved memento mori rings and research about that time period, about the Battle of Waterloo, what would have been going on possibly in his life, what rank he may have held if he came from a family that had a certain level, what medical facilities may have been like at the time. He also has to carry someone else's body with him from Europe to England, so I had to talk to my friends who are experts in burials, historical burials, and say how could he have preserved these remains without it just being awful for everyone on the ship. And so they gave me an answer that was, so those are just a few.
And your website is?
My website is just my name, which is Jan, Jan, Burke, BURKE.com.
And do you want to mention something about the forensics?
Yeah, I'm involved in a nonprofit called the Crime Lab Project, and basically what we try to do is make people aware that forensic science in their local communities in the U.S. is not what they're seeing on television. Labs are underfunded, coroners and other death investigators are untrained in many locations of the country, so you really can't have a good investigation if there's not somebody who knows what they're doing to decide whether or not a crime has taken place in the first place. So you always want to have people who are trained and can recognize the possibilities in a murder scene. So in the meantime, find out what's going on with your local death investigation, find out what the situation is, find out how much training somebody needs to be to hold the office of coroner in your community, and start there.
All right. What is one thing that your readers would be surprised to know about you?
They'd probably be surprised to know that I sing.
Yeah.
I had a whole life in music before you started doing this. I was also, they probably wouldn't be as surprised to learn I was an oral history researcher too. I was a history major. I've never written a book yet where somebody just gets shot on the street and falls down dead and we go from there. There's always some story set in the past, so that's been great for me because I get to do historical research for every book.
So what kind of singing did you do?
It's a wide range. Everything from weddings, funerals. I've sang at funerals. I've sung at my grandma.
Prelude to the future there.
I have been in a large group that performed a rock opera. I've done coffee house type singing. I've done venues as small as someone's living room for their home wedding to the Anaheim Convention Center being the biggest stage. So it was a pretty wide and varied experience.
It sounds like. Do you ever sing now?
Well, my husband's a musician, so they're trying to get me to come up with the band. So if you watch the bill at the Harp Inn in Newport Beach, I may end up on stage.
Oh, sounds fun. Well, thank you so much for talking with us here at Left Coast Crime, and it's good seeing you again.
Great to see you. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.